It is August 21st, 2026. And today we got a lot of news, a lot of news. A podcast packed with news as Barcelona have reached an agreement to sign Dominic Livakovic. Also, Barcelona have reached personal agreement with Lautaro Martinez. And finally, Atletico de Madrid firing shots at Barcelona. I'm going to talk all about that. We have a lot to discuss. So let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo and welcome to another Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting that discussion going. So start filling out the chat section with your questions, your comments, and everything you want to add to the conversation. Now, for those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline, in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to kick back. If you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. And if you are looking to buy merchandise from any other sports around the world, you can head to Fanatics. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. All right, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first segment of news is comprised of multiple bits of news combined together for the sake of brevity, starting with that Barcelona have officially confirmed the departure of the academy midfielder Tomi Marques, the 19-year-old defensive midfielder who debuted towards the end of last season with the first team. He showed a lot of brilliance, and it seemed like he was going to stay with the first team and replace Marques. But with the arrival of Rodri and with the rise of both Xavi Espart and also Brian Fariñas, there was no longer space left for Tomi Marques, and having outgrown Barca Athletic, Barcelona decided to sell him. Of course, during yesterday's video, I told you about how Tomi Marques had left the city of Barcelona and had flown to Braga. And well, now it's confirmed. Barcelona have made it official on their social media outlets that Tomi Marques has been transferred to Braga on a permanent transfer. Some reports are saying it's 11 million. Other reports are saying 12 million. Something around there between 11 and 12 million. And is, of course, a few days after confirming the departure of Jofre Torrents to Ajax for 6 million. And, of course, Ferran to PSG for 50 million euros. So the departures continue, and Barcelona continue to make money in this market after, well, spending a lot of money in this market. But that's okay. You got to spend in order to grow. Now, we still have some more players that are set to leave. Hector Fort, right now, there's negotiations to transfer him to Dortmund. We have the Fernandez cousins, one going to the Premier, one going to the Bundesliga. We'll see where Marques going, but expect more exits as the market reaches its final days. Now, on to the next bit of news, because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona are now ready to begin talks to extend the contract of Hamza Abdelkarim. Yes, only a few weeks after actually signing him, now Barcelona want to give him a new contract. Now, the 18-year-old Egyptian center forward signed for Barcelona in January during a winter transfer market. He arrived on loan with an option to buy. Of course, Hamza Abdelkarim impressed everybody at Barcelona, so Barcelona decided to trigger his option to buy, signing him for, I think it was 1.5 million euros plus another million in variables, if I'm not mistaken, or another 500,000 in variables. But for very, very little did Barcelona sign Hamza Abdelkarim at the beginning of the summer. And of course, Hamza did impress during the preseason. And now Barcelona are ready to give him yet a new contract, because the contract that Barcelona had initially given Hamza Abdelkarim had a 15 million euro release clause. And well, given how impressive Hamza has been through the preseason, and even in the World Cup, even though he didn't score in the World Cup, still you could see, his movement, his position, and the way he reads plays. Barcelona will now give Hamza a new contract, which will increase his release clause from 15 to 150 million euros, which just goes to show how much Barcelona value the future of this youngster. And of course, this is a way to protect the player from any clubs that could be interested in poaching him away. Now, the last bit of news of this first segment, we talked about a departure, we talked about a renewal. Now it's time to talk about a new signing because Barcelona have completed the signing of the Croatian goalkeeper Dominik Livakovic, who Barcelona have now signed from Fenerbahce for 2 million euros fixed plus 2 million euros in variables. Now, Livakovic, as I told you in a previous video, when Barcelona first reached an agreement, personal agreement with the player, will be leaving, will be going on loan to Dinamo Zagreb. You know, Livakovic spent the second half of last season on loan to Dinamo Zagreb from Fenerbahce. Now Barcelona have signed him from Fenerbahce, but they will loan him to Dinamo Zagreb for this upcoming season. And then next summer in 2027, which is when Wojciech Szczesny's contract will expire, that's when Livakovic will come to Barcelona and become the second goalkeeper right behind Joan Garcia. Now they're saying there might be other options to loan out Dominik Livakovic to other clubs, but it's mostly looking like he will be going back to Dinamo Zagreb. Now, the key person in this whole operation was Livakovic's agent, Andibara, who, of course, is a good friend of Laporta and Deco. He's also the agent for both Dani Olmo and Joan Garcia. So, Livakovic, ladies and gentlemen, becomes, the sixth signing of Barcelona this summer, right? We had Anthony Gordon, Karim Adeyemi, Jesse Bisiwu, Rodri, Joao Cancelo, and now Livakovic, who becomes the sixth signing of this summer transfer market. Who would have thought that we would end up completing 6 signings with, of course, a possible 7th, because as I reviewed during yesterday's video, the statements of Deco has said that Barcelona will be making a move for a center forward during this summer transfer market. So we'll see whether there'll be a 7th signing or whether Dominik Livakovic becomes the last signing of this incredibly successful summer transfer market. All right, let's begin with the comment section, and then we're going to talk about Atletico or Patético de Madrid because, well, their CEO, what's his name? I forgot. Miguel Angel Gil Marin has fired shots at Barcelona. All right, let's see. K2A says, let's be real here. Inter signed Lautaro until 2029. I don't think they will be willing to let him go. I'm going to talk about Lautaro Martinez later in that podcast. I don't want to get ahead of myself. And Oscar says, at this point, I'm not even sure who's going to be our main striker. Me and you are in the same boat, my friend. I don't think anybody knows at this point. I don't think Flick knows. Flick is like, bro, let's try Rafinha. Let's try Tunkara. Let's try Hamza. He even tried out Tony Fernandez. I mean, Anthony Gordon. I mean, I don't think even Flick knows who's going to be our striker or whether even we're going to have a striker. Bad Boy says, let the new season begin. Happy Friday, Coulays. Amen, my friend. Let the season begin. By the way, it's right around the corner. It's on Sunday. There's less than 48 hours left. Is it like, what, 40 hours maybe? Well, it's at 2:30 p.m. local time here. So 6 hours, 48 minus 6. So, yeah, there's 42 hours left for the beginning of La Liga season for Barcelona, of course, because La Liga season technically kicked off last weekend. We are joining a week late because, of course, all the teams that had players in the World Cup, a lot of players in the World Cup, they're starting a week after then the rest of La Liga, whose players did not participate in the World Cup and therefore had a full, a normal vacation or a normal summer calendar. Let's put it that way. Let's see. What else? Raul says, I always enjoy being on your podcast. Keep up the good work, Mohobis Kawarsa, and God bless you. Thank you, my friend. God bless you, and God bless everybody here and watching the live stream live or later on. Appreciate you watching the podcast. And Y2016 says, hey, Mo, thanks for being here. Did I miss any Lautaro news? Is he coming? We're going to talk about Lautaro a little bit later, so don't worry. You didn't miss anything. You're right on time. And Arman says, which defender would you want? Which striker? Defender, I'm okay with the defenders we have. As far as strikers, ideally, I would want Haaland, but that's obviously impossible. Second place, I would want Harry Kane, but that, of course, is also highly unlikely. Probably less impossible than Haaland because of price wise, but it's still pretty much impossible since he doesn't want to leave Bayern Munich. And then let's do one more comment because we do have, and then we'll talk about the news. But Michael says, Mo, who do you think will be best striker for Barca? Oh, I'll just answer that question, so never mind. And yo, says any update on Casado? No updates. Jorge Mendes is currently in the city of Barcelona in conversation with Marques and also with the club to try to figure out where will be his next destination. All right, let's get back to the news and let's talk about Julian Alvarez because, of course, the saga continues to drag on. I'm honestly sick and tired of talking about Julian Alvarez, but as long as the summer transfer market is open, I think we're going to continue talking about him. And unless he signs for Barca or the market closes, it looks like we're going to continue talking about him because now the Atletico Madrid CEO, Miguel Angel Gil Marin, has come out and, once again said that Julian is not for sale. And while doing so, has fired some shots at Barcelona. Now, Miguel Angel Gil Marin, of course, had already given an interview. I think it was last month of July, where he said that Julian was not for sale, not for 100, not for 150, not for 200 million euros. We had heard from Cerezo, who had also said the same. El Cholo Simeone also said the same. And well, despite that, the rumors continued, especially since Julian has been seen very unhappy in the training sessions. He's also hasn't been included in any of preseason matches since coming back, or even in La Liga matches. For example, he wasn't part of the La Liga opener for Atletico Madrid. And now the fans, Atletico Madrid fans, are constantly, they were insulting Julian in the stadium during La Liga opener for Atletico Madrid. In fact, today there were signs outside the training facilities saying, Julian out. And then there was a big sign with the number 19 that crossed out. Of course, that's Julian's number. So with all this going on, once again, El Cholo Simeone came out, said, no, Julian's not for sale. Cerezo came out saying, no, Julian's not for sale. And then again now, the CEO of Atletico Madrid, Miguel Angel Gil Marin, saying the same, that he's not for sale, but in doing so also firing some shots at Barcelona. Now, this is what Miguel Angel Gil Marin had to say. Atletico, like all great clubs. All right, we're already off to a bad start. Miguel Angel Gil Marin, my friend, please. Atletico Madrid is not a great club, okay? It's an average club. It's not a great club, okay? Great clubs are clubs like Barca, Madrid, Bayern Munich. Those are great clubs. Atletico Madrid, just any other club. So we're already off to a bad start. But anyway, let's continue. It's built with great players, and I'm clear that Julian is one, as well as being a great professional. We must compete with our values, with people from within the club, and with the best players from outside that we can bring in. Other clubs and their affiliated media to decide what we have to do, dictate our sporting strategy, or disrespect us. Okay. That is precisely what they're trying to do. Divide us. Wow. Okay. It's clear that we're not as powerful as they are. Well, obviously, because I just told you, you're not a great club. So get it together, bro. Get it together. Of course, you're not as powerful. But we have values. Yeah, okay. Barely your values is to keep players prisoner. But let's continue. Atleticos won't allow themselves to be contaminated. Atleti is strong, and we're all together. We're going to help Julian and continue looking after him so that he can give us his full potential, because we need him to keep competing among the biggest clubs in Europe. We have to understand that Julian hasn't had the best advisors around him regarding his professional career in recent months. I 100% agree with you. Mr. Miguel Angel Gil Marin, Julian has not had the best advisors, because if he did, he would have never joined your bum-ass club. But unfortunately, he did, and now he is stuck in mediocrity. Now, let's look at this statement, because I thought this was absolutely hilarious. He's saying that, he doesn't name Barcelona in person, but he's saying that Barcelona are trying to divide Atletico de Madrid. And for that, I have two questions. First of all, why the fuck would Barcelona want to divide Atletico Madrid? I mean, why? Why? I mean, if it was Real Madrid, okay, I get it. Real Madrid is Barcelona's arch rival. These are the two biggest clubs in Spain. They're always competing against each other on who wins La Liga. So that makes sense. Try to divide Real Madrid because, divide and conquer. By dividing Real Madrid, we conquer them and we can win. But Atletico de Madrid, bro, Barcelona beat Atletico Madrid in their sleep. Why the fuck would we need to divide you? Like, you're a club that's beneath us. Like, again, I don't know if Gil Marin has his reality distorted where he thinks that Atletico Madrid somehow is a competitor of Barca or Madrid, because they're not, right? A club that wins a trophy every 10 years is not a great club. Neither is a competitor of Barca or Madrid. But the second question I have is, how is trying to buy a player trying to divide you? That's what I'm confused about. I mean, you don't hear Newcastle saying that Barcelona are trying to divide them because we signed Gordon. I don't hear Dortmund saying Barcelona we're trying to divide them because we signed Adeyemi. Hell, I don't hear Barcelona saying PSG is trying to divide us by signing Ferran. You know why? Because most of these clubs are ran by normal people with their heads not up their asses, right? People who understand how football works. You buy players, you sell players. The same way there are players who leave their clubs to join yours, there are players who leave your club to join others. It's why it's called a transfer market. Okay? Transfer market. Because players get transferred in between clubs. Okay? That's how it works. All right? No one's trying to divide anyone. If I go to the supermarket and I buy groceries, I'm not trying to divide the supermarket, all right? That's just how it works. I go to the supermarket, I buy what I need. Supermarket gets money, I get my groceries, all right? It's the same thing. You go to a club, you buy a player, that club gets money, you get the player. No one's dividing anyone, okay? I don't know on what planet does this moron live, or in what reality does this moron have in his head, but it's clear as day that it's time to talk to a doctor, a psychiatrist, preferably, if not at least to a psychologist. But I mean, the extent that this club is going to make a fool out of themselves is absolutely insane. I mean, it's at this point, it's like they're going the extra mile to make a fool out of themselves. But anyways, those are the statements of this clown at this circus. Let me know what you guys think. And with that, let's get back to the comment section. And then we are going to talk about Lautaro Martinez, because Barcelona have reached agreement with that player. But first, we do have a donation. Let's fucking go. Carlos, thank you so much, my friend, for your donation, for your generosity, and for supporting the channel. But Carlos says, hey, Mo, is there anything that worries, concerns you, or have question marks going into the season? Maybe other than not having a 9. I'm ready for Sunday. Here's a beer from me for Sunday. Enjoy. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Any concerns? That's a good question. That's a good question. Because you said aside from not having 9. So that is a concern. That is a concern. But since you said aside from that, now I have to think. What other concerns would I have be? Would I have? I think my concern would be at this point is with our fullbacks. On the right, of course, with Koundé, and on the left with Balde, right? Because we've seen him come off a very bad season, from a very bad season last season. So my concern would be that they would repeat that bad season. Of course, my hope is that they won't. My hope is that Koundé can go back to his previous form, where he was arguably one of the best right backs in Europe. Same with Balde. My hope is that he goes back to his prior form, where again he was one of the best left backs in Europe. So that would be my only concern, because everyone else I'm pretty happy with. Joan Garcia, I think he's on his way to become the best goalkeeper in La Liga if he's not already there. Our defense, we have the best defender in the world, Pau Cubarsí. Gerard Martin right next to him, who I think has done a wonderful job complimenting Cubarsí. You know what I mean? Complimenting him by saying, hey, sexy daddy. By actually working together. I think we have really good subs for them too. I think Christensen has been showing us a great form during the preseason. We also have Eddie Garcia, who we know can play really well next to Pau Cubarsí. So as far as our center backs, very happy with. Our midfield, my God, what's there to say about our midfield? I mean, we have the best midfield in the world. We have Pedri, we have Rodri, We have Fermin, we have Gabi, we have Bernal, we have Olmo. And I'm sure I'm missing somebody because we have so many that I can't even keep track of. So as far as our midfield, I mean, what else can we want? Our attack, I mean, our wings are finally reinforced. You know, it used to be where, oh, if Lamine is out, shit, what are we going to do? Or if Rafinha's out, shit, what are we going to do? That's no longer the case. If Lamine is out, Adeyemi can sub him, no problem. Obviously, Adeyemi is not as good as Lamine. Nobody is. But it's not like, oh my God, what are we going to do? It's like, no, we're good. Adeyemi can step in and Lamine can take his time, recover, whatever he needs to do. Same thing with Rafinha, right? It used to be, oh, Rafinha's out. We're screwed. Nope. Anthony Gordon can come in. Same thing. I feel comfortable. Obviously, our number 9 is a problem, but we also have players who can play in that position, right? I think Gordon can play in that position. Adeyemi can play as a false 9. Olmo can play as a false 9. So we have options. But, aside from the 9, I would say our fullbacks. Now, obviously, on the left, we do have Cancelo that can take place of Alejandro Balde like he did last season. So that can solve that problem. And on the right, we have both Eric Garcia and Xavi Espar who can do a really good job. So that can solve that problem. But, of course, ideally, I also want Koundé and Balde to do well, right? Not just, put them on the bench and have someone else playing together. I want all of our players to do well. But anyways, I hope that answers your question. Thank you, my friend, for your donation. And let's see. Malik says, like and subscribe. Yes, please. Hit the like button. The like button is very, very important. The more people hit the like button, the more the YouTube algorithm is likely to recommend the channel to people who've never seen it. And if you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for, man? Don't you want to be updated on Barcelona news, on the most awesome? No, I want to say the greatest club in the world. Don't you want to hear the best news about the greatest club on earth? So subscribe. And then RT says, I think Gyökeres will be the perfect striker for us. All right. And let's see. Barca Original says, Hamza is a good striker. I understand why we still don't trust him fully yet, but I truly believe the boy is a blessing for us and he will turn the beast we will all expect under Hansi. We need 9. It's not a matter of trust, right? It's not that we don't trust Hamza. It's about that we need to give him the time and the space to grow and develop, right? It doesn't mean you don't trust him. It just means you want him to be ready. If you throw a steak on the grill and you don't eat it raw, it doesn't mean that you don't trust the steak. You trust it. You just, you need to cook it a little bit more before you can eat it. So yeah, it's not about trust. It's about he's only 18 years old. He has 0 experience in top flight football. He arrived in Barcelona back in January, only a few months ago. He spent the first few months between adapting and injury, not playing. And he only played for a month and a half with the Juvenil with the under-19 team, which is not even professional football. Like he wasn't playing in second division or third or fourth. No. He was playing youth football. It was not even professional football. So he has 1 month and a half of experience in youth football in Spain. That's it. 0 experience in first division. So it's not about that we don't trust him. It's about you got to give him time. You got to give him time to adapt to his new teammates, to adapt to his coach, to adapt to the new style of play, to adapt to the intensity, the speed, the strength of first division. And even on a personal level, you need to give him time to adapt to a new country, new culture, new language, new everything, right? So it's not about we don't trust him. It's about you can't put all that pressure on him when he's still, just adapt to the language. Like, that alone is very stressful. You try to move to another country where completely new country, new culture, new language, you've never been there, different weather, different food, different everything. That alone is pretty stressful. And then on top of that, you have to adjust to your new teammates, your coach, your style of play, to top flight football in one of the best leagues in the world. I mean, it's a lot, man. And on top of all of that, you want to throw the responsibility of being the starting 9 for Barca. Again, it's not about we don't trust him. It's about, this is not FIFA. And when I say FIFA, I don't mean the organization. I mean the video game, okay? This is real life with real people. And real people in real life need time to adapt, need time to improve, need time to grow, right? We're not robots, we're not machines, and it's just how it works. And obviously, he could still surprise us, and he can still end up adapting a lot faster than most people or than what we expect him. But that doesn't mean you should still throw him under the pressure. Like Lamine wasn't thrown as a starter, right? Lamine, when he broke into the first team, he was a sub. Even Messi, the greatest football player in the history of the sport, he was a sub when he first broke into the first team. Because you got to give people time to adapt and grow and develop. You can't just throw them to the wolves, okay? McCoy says, Mo, would you rather get Jokic on loan than Lautaro Martinez permanently? I would not choose the latter. Ooh, that's a tough question. I think between Jokic and Lautaro, I think Lautaro would be a better fit for what we're looking for. But whether I want Lautaro on a permanent basis or Jokic on a loan, it depends on what Barcelona's plans are for next summer. If Barcelona are thinking that they still want Julian next summer, then obviously it's better to bring Jokic on loan, and that way next summer you could still bring in Julian as opposed to signing Lautaro on a permanent transfer and then try to sign Julian next summer. That wouldn't work, right? So it just depends on what Barcelona's plans are for next summer. If they're still going to try Julian, then Jokic on loan. If this is it, this is where we sign a 9, and whatever we sign, we're stuck with, then I prefer we bring Lautaro on a permanent basis. Ralph Player Poker says, Mo, you are the man. This is why I listen to you on my way to work every day off, so I get to enjoy this live. I appreciate you, my friend. Hopefully you are safe driving. If you're not driving, hopefully you're in public transportation, right? Want to pay attention to the road if you're driving, and if not, who cares? All right, because you're not driving. But stay safe, my friend, and thank you for listening. And Sam CJ says, great club and Atletico Madrid in the same sentence. I put my ass up. Yeah, you ain't right, my friend. The Rebel Pilot says, Gil Marin must have serious case of main character syndrome to think that Barca wants to cause division at their present institution of a club. They're gladly cause it a division of their own. Oh, 100% agree with you, my friend. Like, what is our incentive to divide them? Like, are we like struggling to win La Liga because of Atletico Madrid, and this is why we need to divide them in order to win the league? I don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. That guy's reality is so altered. He's so delulu. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how delulu he is. What is it with presidents of clubs located in the city of Madrid being delulu? I mean, is it an age thing? Is there something in the water? Like, has anyone tested the water in the city of Madrid and to see if there's maybe some levels of toxins in there, or maybe the air? I don't know, but something's going on. Because first, Florentino Perez with all his craziness. Now this guy, Gil Marin. I mean, something's happening in Madrid, in the city of Madrid. And I think we need some, scientists to do some investigation. But anyways, let's get back to the news. And let's talk about Lautaro Martinez. Because, of course, as I mentioned, Julian Alvarez is still, there's no movement on that front. Just today, Gil Marin said once again that he's not for sale. So, of course, Barcelona are exploring their alternatives. Yesterday, I told you about the 3 alternatives that are being discussed within the club. The number 1, Lautaro Martinez, being the player that creates the most consensus within the club. Number 2 is Jokic. Doesn't create as much consensus, but it is a more possible signing given that he's not happy at Arsenal and Arsenal not too happy with him. And then finally, the last place is Trisoldi, who Barcelona have a lot of positive reports about him, but Barcelona see him more as a future bet, not someone that can come, hit the road running, and become the starting center forward from day one. So, today we woke up after I told you about how Lautaro Martinez is the guy who creates the most consensus within the club. Today we woke up to the news that Barcelona have reached an agreement with Lautaro Martinez. The 28-year-old will be 29 tomorrow on August 22nd. So actually in Europe or in Italy, where he's at right now, it's already August 22nd. So happy birthday to Lautaro Martinez, who just turned 29. He, of course, is at Inter Milan, has been at Inter Milan his whole European career, I should say. He came up through Racing in Argentina, made a move to Inter Milan back in 2000, right? 2000? I think he's been at the club. No, 2018, I think. I think he's been at the club for 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. It's been his whole career in Europe. He spent it at Inter Milan. His contract expires in 2029. And the news is that Deco and Bojan Krkic both flew to the city of Madrid. Hopefully they didn't drink the water that's causing, people like Florentino Perez and Miguel Angel Gil Marin to go to Lulu. But both Deco and Bojan Krkic flew to Madrid, where they met with the agent of Lautaro, and where they reportedly reached a personal agreement or a verbal agreement with the agent for Lautaro to join Barcelona. As you know, when you sign a player, not only do you reach an agreement with the club where the player plays, but you also have to reach an agreement with the player where you agree the length of the contract, the salary, things like that. So all of that were discussed. All the financial aspects of this contract were discussed. Both parties reached an agreement. So now it's reported that Barcelona are preparing an offer to Inter Milan for Lautaro Martinez. Now, what's the problem with this? The problem with this is that Inter Milan are likely not going to want to sell Lautaro. I don't want to say impossible, because nothing is impossible. It seemed, that impossible that Messi was going to leave, and he ended up leaving. So I don't want to say impossible. Nothing's impossible in football, but I want to say it's highly, highly unlikely, because, of course, Lautaro for Inter Milan is like Lamine to us. So Inter Milan are not going to be looking to sell Lautaro this summer, let alone when there's only 8 or 9 days left in the summer transfer market, which means they would have very little time to go out there and bring a replacement for Lautaro Martinez. And in fact, the manager of Inter Milan said the following once news broke out of Barcelona's interest in Inter Milan. Christian, I forgot his last name, but he said the following: "I'm not afraid. I won't talk about the market. Lautaro is the captain, and there will be talk about him. Around great players, things are said that coaches don't like. He's our captain and the player around whom we're building what we want to be. The market is always quite treacherous, but we want him to stay." So, Inter Milan's manager making it clear that, of course, Lautaro is the centerpiece of their team. That's, it's who they're building, or they have been building, and they continue to build the team around. And, of course, an incredibly important player. But nonetheless, it's reported that Barcelona are going to try. Of course, the least you could do is try. And if it works, great. But if not, at least you tried. We'll see. We'll see if Inter Milan cede. But just know that Barcelona have reached an agreement with Lautaro. But despite that, Lautaro is not going to force his way out of Inter. Okay? Lautaro arrived at Inter many years ago. He's happy there. He's grateful to them. So he's not going to, go out and make statements and try to force his way out. If Inter Milan agree with Barca on a transfer, great. Lautaro will be happy to play for Barca. But if not, he's okay staying there, and he's not going to force his way out. So we'll see what happens. I personally see this very highly unlikely, but you never know. On one hand, the player changed his mind, right? Initially, at the beginning of the summer, when links were surfacing between Barca and Lautaro came out and said that he's happy in Italy and that he wants to stay in Inter. Now he seemed to have changed his mind. Of course, when Barca comes knocking, it's very hard to say no to. So maybe Inter could change its mind. Maybe. I don't see it. Or I see it as very highly unlikely. But you never know. But anyways, there's a personal agreement. Of course, personal agreements don't always mean much, right? Rodri had a personal agreement with Madrid. Saw how that worked out. Rodri ended up in Barca. Julian has a personal agreement with Barca. He's being held a prisoner. So personal agreements don't always translate into transfers. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. We'll see what happens. But of course, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about the possibility of signing Lautaro? Is this someone you would like to see at Barcelona? Yes, no, maybe. Is there someone else you would like to see ahead of him? Let me know in the comment section or in the chat section if you're watching this once it ends. Now let's get back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about the center back position. Someone that people always mention to me, Mo, we need a center back. We're going to talk about it. Americk says, a guy whose dad stole the club. He is the president of, is talking to us about values. This club is detestable. Isn't it ironic? Isn't it ironic? Ross says, I heard you answer to the fullback concern. Then why did we not sign Grimaldo? Oh, no, bro. Come on. Sorry, Mo. I'm just a fan of his. Oh, hey, Mo. What's up, Ross? Good to have you in the chat section as always. Man. Why didn't we sign Grimaldo? Because I rather sign Firpo over Grimaldo. But as far as I know, the fullback position is not a concern for Flick. That was just my concern. But I don't know. Akib says, what's up, Mo? How you been? Who's your preferred front three for Elche on Sunday? Ooh. You know what? Against Elche, I wouldn't mind seeing Hamza up there, right? Even though I know I already said many times before that Hamza should not be thrown in as the starting nine. And I stick by that, obviously. But, you know, we're talking about Elche, right? We're not talking about Real Madrid in El Clásico or Bayern Munich in the Champions League, right? We're talking about Elche. I think that's a good team to have Hamza start. Or if not start, maybe have like substantial minutes, like come in the last 30 minutes as opposed to come the last 5-10 minutes. So I wouldn't mind seeing Lamine, Gordon, and Hamza. But of course, you know, I don't see that happening. I see, you know, Flick wanting to go with something more experienced so he can get the win early and then bring in Hamza. So I see more maybe Lamine, Anthony Gordon through the middle, and Rafinha on the left. Maybe that's a more realistic front three. Or, you know, Lamine, Rafinha. No, I can see Lamine, Rafinha, and Anthony Gordon. I'm going to stick with that answer. But yeah. And says Jose Alvarez is not a creditable journalist. There is no agreement for Lautaro Martinez. Okay. Valeriano says Christensen always there in preseason. Later get injured. Joao Cancelo never features in preseason. Did he not feature in the preseason? No, right? Yeah, I think all 3 times Cancelo. Well, last season he obviously came in the winter, so there was no preseason for him because he came in half through the season. But yeah, I think under Xabi he also didn't feature in the preseason because I think he held out. He held out until final because Man City were trying to transfer him on a permanent transfer, and he held out until the last moments of the market, forcing Man City to loan him to Barca. So yeah, and of course this summer same thing. He held out until got his contract canceled. But let's see. Nat says Julian's agent made a statement regarding the Atletico CEO, basically calling him a liar. Man, what a shit show. What a shit show. Y2 Teen says, I hope Hamza's with a Z. Hamza stays in the first team dynamics, maybe 10 minutes every now and then. Yeah, I think he will. I think that's the plan. Of course, we'll see. But I think the plan is for Hamza to stay in first team dynamic and train with the first team exclusively. And then I'm sure he'll be given minutes here and there towards the end of matches because he's shown us that, you know, he deserves it. He deserves it. And I think that'll be a great way for him to grow this whole season. You know, if Hamza trains with the first team this entire season, playing minutes here and there, maybe even can play even longer minutes against bottom of the table team or in a Copa del Rey, for example, against a 4th division team, you know, he could start. If he could do that this whole season, I think he would grow so much. And then next season, poof, and the one after, and the one after, and the one after, because this guy's only going to keep getting better and better and better and better. Musa Jr. says, hey, Mo, do you think Barca may ended up signing, like if they're going to end up signing Julian, is there a chance? Yeah, as long as the market doesn't close, as long as the market is open, there's technically a chance. But at this point, I think it's looking less and less likely with every passing day. Let's see. Brendan says, Mo, I hope you speak multiple languages, but debuted only has 2 syllables. You always pronounce it with 3. 2 syllables? As in debuted? Debut? No, that's 3 syllables. Mohammed says, still don't understand why Barca never went for Marmoush, who is closest Alvarez play style. Because they might be the same profile, but I think they are miles apart as far as skill level. And that's probably why. Archie says Alvarez's agent responded to the Atletico president. Okay, yeah, someone just mentioned it. Football C2V4N says, why don't I hear about Osimhen? I've discussed that a million times. I don't want to repeat myself again. Screamer says, hey, Mo, do you think there's any chance Julian forces his way out, even if it doesn't make it in time for September 1st deadline? The next international break is a month long, so he could come in January and won't miss much. I mean, look, the best thing that can happen to Julian, to Barca, and the worst thing that can happen to Atletico, kind of like as a big fuck you for acting like the idiots that they're acting as, would be for Julian to just say, look, I'm injured, I'm tired, I don't feel well, I got a pinch, my knee hurts, just cut fake injuries this whole season, just sit out the whole season. And then next summer, Barcelona goes and says, all right, well, a whole season of play, Julian's market value is going to tank. Be like, I'll offer you 50. And then I think at that point, Atletico was going to be forced to sign. I mean, they did that to us. Remember with Griezmann? When we loaned Griezmann to Atletico Madrid, there was an obligation to buy clause in there that if he plays a certain amount of matches, the obligation to buy gets automatically triggered. And even though Griezmann was being key for Atletico Madrid, they benched him. And they benched him most of the second half of the season on purpose. So that clause doesn't get met. And that way it doesn't get triggered automatically. And then Barcelona would be forced to negotiate it and sell Griezmann to even for a lower price. So they did that to us. I think the best payback Julian can do is to reach that agreement with Barca and just be like, all right, I'm just going to sit out this whole season. His market value is going to tank. And then next summer, Barca can come in and say, all right, 50 million now instead of 100. You want to act stupid? We can play stupid games, But anyways. Mike says, being a culé fills the heart with joy. Thanks for all your contributions to the Blaugrana fan community, Mr. Mo. Thank you, my friend, for watching. And the Jeff says, is this a nightmare, Lautaro Martinez? What do you get against Lautaro, man? I mean, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Lautaro. You just got to look at his World Cup performances. Even in 2022, it was horrendous. But at club level, he seems to perform. It wouldn't be my number 1 option. It wouldn't even be my number 3 option. But I wouldn't say it's a bad option either. Spooky says, Lamine Yamal's performance after coming back from injury has been concerning. Bro, he played 1 game. Not a matter of injury. It's a matter that he's still in preseason form. Let's see. The Rebel Pilot says it has already been confirmed that Barca never sent a bid for Lautaro. No bid has been sent. That's very, very important to clarify. No bid has been sent. This is a personal agreement with the player. Okay, that's completely different from a bid to the club, right? But first, you have to reach an agreement with the player and say, "Hey, would you like to join us?" And then the player says, "Yes." All right. How much would you like to earn? 10 million. I'll give you 8. Okay, 9. All right, 9. How long do you want to come? 10 years. Come on, bro. I'll give you 4. Okay, 5. Deal. That's a personal agreement with the player. Once you know the player wants to come to your club and you're okay paying him the salary that he wants and the length of the contract that he wants and all that, then you can go to the club where he plays and says, all right, I want to sign this guy. Here's my first bid, 80 million or 90 million, right? Completely two different processes, right? No bid for Lautaro. Barcelona have not sent any kind of offer to Inter Milan, none whatsoever. The news is just that Barcelona reached a personal agreement with Lautaro. That's it, okay? A personal agreement is still could mean absolutely nothing. We have one with Julian. He's not a Barca player. Madrid has one with Rodri, and he's a Barca player. Right? So, no bid. No bid. I want to clarify that. No bid whatsoever. Irish Kule says, hi, Mo. If Barca paid 150 million on Julian, we won the Champions League, would it be worth it? I mean, are you implying that we won the Champions because of Julian? Because here's the thing. Winning a trophy like the Champions has many factors. Now, if Julian goes and scores like 20 goals in the Champions League, then you're like, you can say, okay, yeah, you can attribute that win to him alone. But a team like Barca, the way Barca plays, it's never going to be just about one player how you win the Champions League. It's going to be about, making sure that Lamine is doing his job, creating space on the wing, and so is whoever on the left is, whether it be Rafinha or Gordon, and that Pedri and Olmo or Fermin or whomever is playing attacking mids are, doing a great job filtering the balls to the front three, and that Rodri is doing a great job controlling the midfield and not letting it through the opposing team, and that our center backs are doing a great job marking and defending, that our fullbacks are doing a great job stretching the field, that our goalkeepers doing a great job stopping the shots that come at him. So you can never, it's nearly impossible to try to, I don't want to say impossible, but try to attribute a Champions League victory to just one player. Now, obviously, there can be one player that can make the biggest difference, kind of like with Vinicius Jr. and Madrid's last Champions League win. If Julian becomes that and becomes our Vinny during this win, then maybe that's when your question becomes more applicable. And in that case, is the Champions League worth 150 million for a player? Maybe not. Because you actually get less than 150 million for winning the Champions League. But here's the thing. You can't overpay just because you might win the Champions League and that would be worth anything, right? You have to pay for what a player is worth. And if you end up winning the Champions League thanks to that player, great. But you can't just go and overpaying for players because they might become the difference maker and they might become the difference between winning and not winning the Champions League, right? Anyways, let's do the last bit of news and then we'll do more comments. But let's talk about the center back position because there's currently debate within the club on whether to sign a center back. In other words, signing a center back is not completely ruled out. Now, of course, there are still 8 days or 9 days. I think it's September 1st when the market closes. So Barcelona still have some time to make some signings, but discussions continue within the club on whether one of those signings could or should be a center back. Now, on one hand, the debate is starting to move towards the not really, we don't need a center back. The main reason is, of course, Andreas Christensen. Flake is reportedly very happy with how Christensen has been performing during the preseason. Of course, this technically would be the first time Flake would have Christensen under his disposal for the season, because the last 2 seasons he's been injured, and Flick has been here only for, well, the past 2 seasons. But during this preseason, Flick has been happy with Christensen. He considers him a defender that can, that's really good at playing the ball up from the back, that can operate on the left side, which is key because Cubarsí, even though can also operate on the left, is much better on the right side. So it's much better to keep your best defender in his best position. And of course, Christensen is someone that is really good with aerial duels and they can read situations in a very intelligent manner. And as such, Hansi Flick has been very happy with the performance in Christensen, and his staff, Flick's staff, have been very happy with the physical condition of Christensen, because that's also important, right? We all know that Christensen has always been a great center back. The problem has been his physical condition and his injuries, but it looks like Flick's staff are actually happy with the physical condition of Christensen. So with the performance of Christensen, with his good physical condition, Flick is happy with him, and of course means that we can count on him as a center back to alternate with Cubarsí and Gerard Martin. And then there's, of course, Jules Koundé, who seems like Hansi Flick wants to, play him again as a center back. Of course, Koundé has always said that he feels more comfortable as a center back. He's been playing as a fullback for many, many seasons, but with the rise of Xavi Espart and with the great job that Eddie Garcia did as a right back last season, Hansi Flick thinks that he can cover the right back with both Espart and Eddie Garcia and can transform Koundé back to being a center back. So with Koundé and Christensen, and then you add to them, of course, Alvaro Cortés, who's been showing lots of potential. Right now the debate is leaning more towards that. No, there's no need to sign a center back because, of course, that would mean that we have Cubarsí and Gerard Martinez are two starters, Christensen, Koundé, and Alvaro Cortés as substitutes. Plus, of course, Eddie could always step in and play. So you're talking about 5, maybe 6 center backs. Now, if Barcelona do decide to sign a center back, of course, their favorite option, or Deco's favorite option, is no other than Aymeric Laporte. Of course, we saw what a wonderful job he did right next to Pau Cubarsí in the World Cup, so we know he would fit like a glove. But of course, what complicates this signing is the fact that he plays for Athletic Club de Bilbao, where Athletic Club consider him a core piece of their project. Not to mention, the relationship between both clubs is completely broken after the whole Nico Williams and the Negreira fiasco. So, debate continues on within the club on whether to sign a center back or not. And my question to you is, would you want Barcelona to sign a center back? I personally don't. I think that we don't need one. I think we're plenty covered. Now, of course, if Barcelona do end up signing Laporte, I'm not going to be mad. Obviously, that would be a great addition. But overall, I think we're covered. So there's no need to spend money. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. And with that, that's a wrap for the news. Let's do more comments, and then we will end this live. Mask Zero Short says, why did they sign Livakovic, and who is he even? Livakovic is a Croatian goalkeeper. Why did they sign him? So he can be the second goalkeeper next season. Not this season. It's about to start on Sunday. The following season, 2027-2028, because next summer, Wojciech Szczesny's contract expires. I don't understand it either. We did start the summer with 6 goalkeepers. We got rid of 4 of them. I mean, I feel like any of those could have been the second goalkeeper once Wojciech Szczesny leaves. Hell, I don't even know why we still have Wojciech Szczesny. Wojciech Szczesny should have never been renewed. He came out of retirement. He helped us that one season. I did okay. Thank you. But anyways, I don't understand what's going on with the goalkeeper position. Here we are. Andrew says, Mo, we need to start going after players who are hungry to come to Barca, and there are many out there. Let's go for Tresoldi and use Hamza as his backup. They are both lethal in front of goal. I don't think that necessarily true. I mean, obviously you want players who want to join the club. You can't force a player to come play for you. You can't put a gun to their head and be like, you're playing for me now. But do I need them to bleed Blaugrana and to have a tattoo of the Barcelona crest on their chest and haven't been born a culé? No. We need players who, A, are good, and B, they're going to help the team get better, right? That's what we need. Do I expect every player that joins Barcelona to be a culé, a diehard culé? No, no. I mean, you know, players grow up in different parts of the world, and they grow up in 11 different clubs as kids, and not everybody is a culé since they're a baby, right? As long as you're a great player who can come to the club and make the team better, that's great. If they happen to be a diehard culé, that's a plus. But is it an absolute must? No. Do you think Rodri is a diehard culé? I don't think so. He came up through, I think at first Villarreal, and then he moved to Atletico Madrid's academy. Do you think Anthony Gordon is a diehard culé? No, his family they all Liverpool back supporters, and then he came up through the academy of Everton, which he even talked about in an interview how his family members stopped talking to him because they're all Liverpool fans. Is he a diehard culé? No, sure he's a Liverpool fan, or maybe he switched to Everton since he came up through their academy. So do I need him to be diehard culés? No, I just need him to be great players who are gonna make the team better. Let's see. Akib says Julian Alvarez's agent posted on his story, never ask a liar why they lied. To explain it, they'd have to lie again. I love that. Let's see what else. Andrew says, what if Alvarez rejected for 6 months and came back and joined Barca for free? Oh, retired. You can't just retire. You still have a contract. You would have to pay part of his contract because you're still breaking the contract. Enrico says, do you consider selling Balde? If yes, who do you replace him with? I wouldn't sell Balde, no. I think Balde is a player with lots of potential. We've seen what he can do. Yes, sure, he did have a bad season last season, but let's not forget he's only 22 years old. So he is still learning. He's still making mistakes. He's still growing. He's still developing. He's still learning from those mistakes. Remember, everybody wanted to sell Eric Garcia when he was Balde's age. Everybody said he was garbage. And I said, guys, Eddie Garcia is not garbage. And people said I was stupid and that I didn't know anything about football. And here we are. Barca Reloaded says, I still remember Rayo's terrible pitch last season, and it's reported they don't have a stadium at all, and this now apparently belongs to the government. I did not know that. I shouldn't laugh because that's horrible. But, I mean, I do remember their pitch. Yeah, it was fucking awful. Oh, my God. Irish Calais says, hi, Mo. You seem tired. Just want you to know we all appreciate the work you put in to deliver Barca news. I appreciate you, my friend. I am tired. I'm always tired. Between my days are long. My days are just long. I wake up at 6 in the morning. I go to the gym. Come back. I take my dog out, shower, have breakfast. I start work. I work all the way to 6, 7 p.m. And then it's like I got to prepare videos. I got to do the videos or the podcast, depending on the day. After this, I'll have dinner. I'll take my dog out. It is Friday, so I won't go out. I used to go out on Fridays. Now I'm just so tired that I sleep. But tomorrow, it's back to the gym in the morning. And thankfully, it is the weekend. So I will get some R&R this weekend. But during the week, no, I hardly ever sleep. Sean says, good night, Mo. You got any good anime recommendation? FYI, I have come really cool Barcelona anime. You know what? I actually did not grow up watching anime. The only anime I watched was Detective Conan. And if you guys don't know, Detective Conan is this like really good crime detector, kind of like a Japanese version of Sherlock Holmes. But the bad guys, the mafia, they inject them with something that shrinks them and makes them a kid. And he has this scientist friend who builds all these gadgets for him. So he creates all these gadgets. And he's like this little kid. And the father of his fiance is a detective, but he's a really bad detective. So he goes with him to crime scenes. And then he had like this little bow tie a watch that would shoot a dart. And it would like put the father in line to sleep, and then he would use the bow tie that would change his voice to mimic that of his father-in-law, and he would solve the crime. I used to watch that. I watched Pokemon, of course, and then I watched the football one. I forgot what it's called. Can't Captain Matsubusa. I don't know. I saw it in Arabic. It was called Captain Majid. That was probably the only animes I saw. Overall, I didn't watch much TV growing up. I was that kid that was always outside. I was playing, riding my bike, climbing trees, falling off trees, getting into fights with the kids from the neighborhood. You know, regular Rugrat shit. But yeah, that was my childhood. I think the last anime I saw, and I saw only a few episodes because a friend of mine was like, "I love this show. We gotta watch it together." And I was like, let's make a night out of it. It was Tokyo Revengers. It was really good. I didn't finish it, but it was really good. Let's see. Mariama says, is Rodri and Goren registered already for Sunday night? Yes, they are. In fact, let's do this. You don't have to believe me. Let's look at La Liga's website. La Liga. Oh, what is this? That's not what I was trying to do. Here we go. EA Sports. It's in the game. Or to the game. Come on. La Liga. Why is this not working? La Liga. La Liga. There we go. Clubs. Finally. Their website was, I kept clicking and it wasn't working. All right, let's share my screen. Let me do a split screen. There we go. All right. Football Club Barcelona. Here we go. Squad. Let's see. Hansi Flick and Marques Sorg as the two coaches. Juan Garcia and Chesney as our two goalkeepers. In the defense, we have Balde, Cubarsi, Christensen, Gerard Martin, Kunde, Eric Garcia, and Hector Fort. Well, I guess he will be gone soon, so that's not going to be there. I don't know why they made him black. Hector Fort is white, but I'm just kidding. Midfielders, we have Gavi, Fermin, Pedri, and voila. Rodri, ladies and gentlemen, has been registered with the number 16, which used to belong to Fermin, and Fermin took the number 7, was used to belong to that bum. What's his name? Ferran Torres. We have Olmo, Frankie, Bernal, Rooney. Of course, Rooney is injured. And Marc Casado. Of course, Marc Casado will be on his way out soon. And then forwards, we have Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, Karim Adeyemi, who's going to wear the number 14, and then Anthony Gordon, who will wear the number 17. This is how you know you're old, when players start being born in the freaking 2000s. Anyways, let's see. So, yes, to answer your question, they both are they both are registered. Valeriano says if Julian fake injury, won't Atletico Madrid medical team interfere and deny it and fine him? They could, but you know, there's some injuries where they don't necessarily get detected on exams. You know, sometimes it's more of a sensation, like, hey, I really feel like some pain in my thigh, and that's not something that would necessarily appear on an MRI unless there's a tear in the muscle, right? Which happens all the time, right? You get sore, you get fatigued. You might pull a muscle, and when you pull a muscle, you can't play. But it's not going to show up in anything. So technically, yes, but there's a way around it. Or you can always just say, hey, my stomach hurts. You know, I got indigestion. Have a headache. How do you prove that? Marques says we need to sell Casado 30 million. I'm like, 30 minutes? You want to sell him in 30 minutes? Balde, 65 to 70. No Balde. Glass Frankie, as fast as he recovered. By Lautaro, Van der Ven. No, Van der Ven is... Might as well... We could have kept Araujo if we were going to bring Van der Ven. Covering left back and center back. And by Lukeba, then this will be best transfer summer window. Maybe Lukeba, yes. But the rest, I don't know about all that. All right, let's see. Last comment of the night. Ross says, "Hey Mo, watch YouTube videos on Como FC, and man, Fabregas be cooking. That place is nice. Yeah, man. Fabregas is cooking, and yes, I have seen a video about their stadium. It's right on Lake Como. I mean, the stadium itself sucks. It's like small. It looks more of like a second or third division team stadium, but it's right on the lake. Like the view is amazing. But anyways, okay, one more, and then we'll end this. But Y216 says, "Is Bisiwa a first team signing? Yes, seems he has not been registered." They announced it as a first team signing, but my guess they're gonna register him with Barca Athletic, and he's gonna be playing mostly with Barca Athletic, kind of like how they did that with but they did the opposite with Rooney Bardakji last season, where he was a first team signing, but he was registered with Barca Athletic. I think with BC was going to be the opposite. I think he's going to be registered as Barca Athletic player and play mostly with them. And then I'm sure he'll train with the first team and maybe, who knows, be called up to the first team every now and then. But he definitely still like has, still needs to adapt and grow, and et cetera, et cetera. But anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. That is all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, be scarce.